Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in tonight. My name is Maria Ellis, and tonight we are talking about rehearsing and planning your rehearsal for your choir when you start back. So, we will be starting exactly at 6 o'clock. I plan to be here for 1 hour. I want to make sure that I'm being respectful for your time. I want to make sure that you have time to ask questions. I have a little freebie that I'm going to give out at the end of the session. So I want to make sure that we start on time. Please feel free to use the chat. If you have any questions or concerns or something you don't understand, use the chat. I'll be monitoring the chat to make sure that I answer all of your questions. But it is officially 6 o'clock. 7 o'clock if you're on the East Coast. And here we go. All right, so again, tonight's discussion is planning your choir rehearsal and calendar year. I am Maria A. Ellis. I will be hosting this session for tonight. Today we're going to do a recap of our first session. If you haven't had a chance to watch that, once this one is over, please go back and watch the first presentation about keeping your choir engaged during COVID-19. I know a lot of us are getting ready to go back to church. Our church is opening up within the next few weeks. And so we want to go back in order. We've been out for a number of weeks. My church has been down since, I think, like the second or third week of March. So we want to go back in order, and these sessions are helping you to get back in order and to come back reset, refreshed, and ready for your choir members. So we're going to do a quick recap of last week. Then we'll talk about planning your rehearsals. What songs should we sing? We'll talk about a planner. I'll take questions, and I'll give you a preview of next week's session. I'm super excited about next week's session. But here we go. Let's get together with this session. Rewind. My name is Maria Ellis. I am from St. Louis, Missouri. I have been a church choir director since I was 12 years old. That's over 20 years. Also, I conduct several choirs in the St. Louis area. I have a high school chorus, the Sheldon's the City of Music All-Star Chorus, and I conduct a chorus for the St. Louis Children's Choirs and Elementary Chorus. I have a degree in music education from the University of Missouri, St. Louis. I've presented sessions all around the country to choir directors and church choirs and things like that. And I'm very, very, very honored that you thought enough to join me on this Monday night. So thank you so much for that. We talked about rehearsing during COVID. With COVID, we know that that's the pandemic that we're living in right now, and we know that it's transferred through aerosols. So it's transferred through breathing. And one of the things that we do when we sing is we breathe. So there were lots of scientists and lots of data that's out talking about singing and how you should be not only social distancing, so that's 6 feet apart, but then you also need another 20 feet when you're singing, so to make sure that you're not in the way of anybody's spit pattern, as I call it. So you're not being spit on and potentially making yourself in the path of getting sick with the coronavirus. So we talked about that. We talked about Zoom rehearsals. I don't know if your choir is coming right back once you come right back, or are you starting with a praise team? But we talked about how to go through a Zoom rehearsal if your choir is not coming back, how to navigate that, the tools that you need, breakout rooms and things of that nature so you can keep the choir rehearsing. We also discussed planning for the rehearsal, planning for ways to keep the choir engaged, which could include having somebody present a scripture, not the whole choir doing testimony service, because that'll take up all of your time and you don't want to do that. But maybe somebody presenting a scripture or something like that to keep everybody engaged. So we talked about that. We talked about the recipe for a good rehearsal, that every good rehearsal starts with a plan. You have to plan. And tonight we'll go in further detail about actually planning that rehearsal. So there has to be some type of plan. You have to know exactly what you're doing, because if not, you're wasting somebody's time. And we all know the most valued commodity that we have is time. Once time is gone, I can't get that back. So you want to make sure that you're not wasting time, that you're being productive for however long your rehearsal is. Because with Zoom and doing things online, people have options. You have an option. You can stay here with me for an hour, but if you don't like what I'm saying, you can tune off and you can go watch something else or watch the news, or you can go outside. So you want to make sure that you have something that keeps everybody engaged. And then you want to make sure that even though you're doing a rehearsal via Zoom, that you still have that good warm up, that you're still practicing that good posture, that you're still sitting up straight, that your shoulders are still down, that your feet are flat on the ground, like so almost like a tabletop position with your legs, that your knees are bent, of course, because you're sitting, that your back is straight, so you don't want to sing hunched over because that interrupts your airflow and you don't want to do that while you're singing. So your back is straight, your arms are free, you're not crisscrossed up and down, that your chest is lifted, so you're still getting that good airflow, and that you're working with your choir to go through all of that. So shoulders down, feet on the ground, knees are bent, back straight. Let's make sure that you're balanced. Your arms are free. You lift the chest, and then you focus on whoever's doing their rehearsal. And then we talked about sectionals and breakout rooms and things like that. So if you want to go back to that video when this is over, please refer back to that video. It's labeled as session 1, and we are currently in session 2. So again, with your choir, no matter whether it's in person or if it's over some type of Zoom or Microsoft Meets or Google Hangouts or something like that, that you always encourage your choir members to be their very best. You know that there are going to be mistakes, but that's why we rehearse. We rehearse so we can eliminate mistakes in front of our congregation. So we encourage, we enthuse, we give them something to look forward to, something to say, hey, we're going to keep pushing through, and then you educate. Anytime you as a director or a choir member, if you find something new, shoot that over to your minister of music, your choir director, your choir president. Shoot that to them so they can always be educated. We want to make sure that we deal with our best minds, with the best education, all right? So like I said earlier, a choir rehearsal with no plan or agenda is a waste of your choir members' time. Now we're going to dig deep into this topic about planning or having an agenda. You ever been to a meeting and the person is just like fumbling around trying to figure out what they're going to do next or what they're going to talk about? And you're like, oh my gosh, you knew we were coming to this meeting. You should have had this all planned out. Well, that's how it can be in some of our rehearsals if we don't plan out the time, or if we don't require people to be on time. So we don't require them to be on time. So then they straggle in for 30 minutes. And if your rehearsal is only an hour long, 30 minutes has already gone by because you've had your stragglers coming in and out. So you want to make sure that you have a plan, an agenda, and we're going to talk about all of that tonight so we don't waste time. All right? Do you have your paper and pencil? Are you ready? All right, here we go. All right, so let's make a plan. Let's set an expectation for our choir rehearsal. The expectation is on Thursday nights, we're going to rehearse from 7 to 8. We're going to rehearse these songs, whatever songs that you're going to rehearse. Maybe that's 2 praise and worship songs, 2 songs that you'll sing during the choir rehearsal, and your sermonic song. So you're going to set that in front of them. You're going to write that on some type of board, or maybe you have an app that you use to interact with your choir members, but you're going to set the expectation of what you're going to do. By setting the expectation, I already know that you're planned. If I'm sitting in rehearsal, I know exactly what we're working on. I know the order. I can get my music in that order. But set that expectation before the choir meets. And what that means is you're going to have to plan before that rehearsal. So if your rehearsal is on Thursday, you have to plan that rehearsal before Thursday. I'll show you some tools of how to do that, but just want to make sure that you're always setting an expectation of what we're doing. And that way you can make sure that you, choir director or minister of music or whatever your title may be, you are on to your goal of where you want the choir to go. So they know that they're not working on the same song every week. They know that you have something new coming up and they have things that they can look forward to. You want to encourage your choir members to listen and learn their parts prior to rehearsal. So that's whether you give out a rehearsal track, or maybe you have some type of song that you send out, or maybe there's a sectional before rehearsals. I don't know what you do, but you want them to listen and learn their parts prior to rehearsal. And what I mean by listen and learn, meaning I know rehearsal is rehearsal, but certain things I, as a choir director, do not want to teach during rehearsal. I don't necessarily want to teach words during rehearsal, because as a director, I know I've given you the words in advance, and the least you can do is for maybe 15 minutes a day, just listen to the song. If you listen to the song for at least 15 minutes a day, you have you have a basic shape of what that song is like. You know that there's the chorus here, there's a verse, there's another chorus, there's a vamp, and then there's the ending of the song. So that kind of the shape of the song, the format, those are things you should know prior to rehearsal. Words, things you should know prior to rehearsal. The thing that I want to fix during rehearsal is maybe teaching your part. If you didn't already get that in advance, I'll teach parts. I'll make sure that we have harmonies correct. I'll make sure that we are singing in the correct vowel shape. I can correct all that stuff. But words, that's something you should have before you come to rehearsal. And your choir director or whoever's leading you should give that to you in advance. All right. Or if they don't, if you have a plan and you know that on this Thursday we're singing Jesus Will Welcome You by John P. Keat, you should be listening to that song so you have some type of inkling of what's going on during that song. All right. Your choir members, like I said, they're going to give you an agenda for the rehearsal. They're going to let you know exactly what you're singing, and then we're going to invite you all to share a scripture or a song that maybe you meditated on during the week or something like that. Now, again, this is not for everybody. This is not a time for everybody to share, because if you allow every single person in the choir to share, then that's eating up at your time, and you want to be respectful of your time. So maybe that's something that you assign early in the week, or maybe you have some type of group me or something like that where people can share. Everybody who wants to can share in this one application, and then when you actually get to rehearsal, you have one person. You say, well, Sister Power, you shared this. I really enjoyed it. It really blessed my spirit. So can you share that with us? And then give her a timer. You can set a timer on your phone. Give her a timer and say, okay, you got 2 minutes to expound on this. Or you plan it in advance and say, Sister Power, I'm going to give you 2 minutes to expound. Give her 2 minutes, and then move on with your rehearsal. And then you start your warm-up, which I already showed you how to do. Okay? All right. So the plan before rehearsal. What are we singing? Who's leading? Who's directing? So those are things that you already should have figured out before you come to rehearsal. And that's whether it's a Zoom rehearsal or an in-person rehearsal. The time while we're sitting in rehearsal is not the time for this to be figured out. So if you know you're singing, let's go back to Jesus Will Welcome Me Home by John P. Keat. If that's the song that you're singing, then you should already have that laid out, that this is what we're singing. This is the format. So that song starts with the choir. I'm living this life just to live again. Starts with the choir. And then listen to the song and know what comes next. Does the lead come back next? Do they repeat this part again? What are we singing? What are we singing for the month? And I'll show you how to pick that out. But what are we singing? That stuff you should have before rehearsal. Who's leading? Well, when I listen to songs, I already have a person in mind that I want to lead the song. I kind of listen to see, okay, whose voice fits this range? If the lady, and if you don't know how to do that, let's just say like this. If the lady on the CD is singing high, well, then you should probably look at a soprano. If it's a lady who's singing like mid-range, well, you should look for an alto. If it's a man, then you should look for a tenor or a bass, number one. If your lead singer is one who is not great with words or something like that, that's something that you need to consider, and maybe you need to work with her in advance before rehearsal. In advance before rehearsal. Work with her on their leading. Who's directing that song? Some churches have multiple directors, some churches have just one, but if you have multiple directors, that should be assigned before you get to rehearsal, because you want to give your director a chance to really learn the song, to know all the intricate details of where this song is going. They need to have all of that learned before they get to rehearsal. So you want to assign that in advance. You want to know all that stuff in advance. All right. If you haven't, we're going to take a brief pause. We're about 13 minutes in. Please take a minute to like and subscribe to my YouTube channel, Air Girl Conductor. You're already on the page. And then go ahead and hit the bell so you can keep track of when I'm uploading new videos. I'm doing my best to try to upload one every week. And I have some things planned that I want to do with the channel to really help out my church choir friends, especially those who come from churches who may not have the robust music program, or you may not, it may just be a group of you all who just love to sing, and you may not have the training and things like that. I want this channel to be a channel that can help with those type of things, all things music, all things singing, all things choir. All right. So please go ahead and like and subscribe. I appreciate you. Thank you. All right. So here we go. Before we get to does this song work, I want to play a video that I saw that was viral today. Let me pull this up for you. And maybe we're not going to play this video for you. Hold on a second. Let's see if I can pull it up. And see, this is what happens when you go live. Because sometimes things work, and then sometimes things don't work. So, video. Okay. So that video is not going to work. That's okay. But there's a video out live, and I'll just tell you about it. The pastor, the choir is getting ready to sing "Oh Clap Your Hands" by John P. Keaton. And the music starts, and the choir starts singing, and then the pastor looks over at them, and you could tell like he's upset or vexed in his spirit, because he says, well, if this what y'all did in rehearsal, then why did you rehearse? And I felt so bad for the people, for the choir members. Okay, I found it. Here we go. I'll play it for you. Or maybe I won't play it for you. Let's try it one more time. And let's see if it comes up. And it didn't come up. So we're not going to play it. But I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll put it on my YouTube channel. On my Facebook page so you can see it. But he was so upset with them because they didn't know the words. Number one, they didn't know the words to the song. And number two, the harmonies was all messed up. So it wasn't the best presentation for the choir. And I felt bad for the choir for a few reasons. Number one, I'm not sure who, and I'm not calling out this church or anything like that. It was public. And if it's public, then we can talk about it. I heard a talk show host that says, if it's public, we can talk about it. And it was public, so I'm going to talk about it. What I noticed is it seems as though the band rehearsed. The band knew the transitions. The band knew when to come in, when not to come in. But the choir was at a loss for words. The choir's harmonies were not correct. And when I see stuff like that, the first thing that I think about is, why in the world would somebody program this song on Sunday morning? It wasn't ready. There's no way you should put up things that are not ready. I would have more respect for the group if they had just let the band play and let that be an instrumental selection. The choir doesn't always have to sing, especially if it's songs that you're not ready with. One thing that I always say as a choir director, if the song is not sung if the song is not done properly during rehearsal, then it's not going to work on Sunday morning. It don't work like that. If you didn't take the time to prepare and plan and get this song in order before your Sunday morning presentation, then don't sing that song. Don't embarrass yourself with that song. So don't do that. Don't do that. And if it's a thing where you have whoever's over the choir, if they don't know how to teach parts and things like that, there are so many services out here that you can recommend to your music department. So many people who send out practice tracks, voice tracks, musician tracks. You can go on YouTube and find tracks. You can always find tracks of what you're trying to sing. You don't have to struggle through a song. Okay? Let's not do that anymore. Let's not struggle. You can ask for help and people will help you. You can pay for help and people will do it for you if you pay them for it. So let's not do that. But I'll post a video if you haven't seen it. And again, it's not to be disrespectful to the choir or their program, but just so you can see, and like I said, it's a public video, but just so you can see how we can be more careful with things that we present, especially when we present to God. We would feel some kind of way if God just gave us any old thing. You would feel some kind of way if God did you like that. So why do we do him like that? You know that song wasn't ready to go? Why would you put that out there? All right, so does this song work? So first of all, there's different type of gospel songs you can sing. You can sing a traditional gospel song. And I'm going to speak from the Black church point of view. If I have any Caucasian friends that are watching today, I don't know your experience. So I'm going to speak from the experience that I know, which is the black church. I grew up apostolic my whole life, so that's the experience that I'm going to speak from. And then I've visited some churches over the years, so I'll speak from those experiences as well. So traditional gospel, that is like, think your old school testimony songs like Mississippi Mass Choir, think Georgia Mass Choir, think your just traditional choir songs. Let's think early John P. Key music, things like that. That's your traditional gospel music. You may be in a church where that's what they're used to. They can't get with the contemporary Christian music or the CCM music or the contemporary gospel music. That may not work in your church. So you have to know what songs work. Contemporary Christian music, that's your CCM. So that's your I think that's like Hillsong, like those type of songs. Those songs are kind of slower, kind of them songs where you just want to raise your hands and just, yes, God, I hear you. Like them type of songs. Those are traditional CCM songs. That may not work in your house. Or if it does, if you want to use that song, fix it so it'll work in your house. And then you have your contemporary gospel songs. That's your Fred Hammonds, your Kirk Franklins. If you want to go Winans, old school, all these new artists where it sounds more like hip hop-ish. I know Kiara, she does a lot of contemporary gospel. Kiara Sheard. Those type of songs may or may not work in your house, but you have to know who your audience is and what works in your house. Some things we do for CCM songs, we took one of those songs and gave it a Caribbean beat. So like You Deserve It. My hallelujah belongs to you. Very slow. And my hallelujah belongs to you. So at our church, not saying that wouldn't work at our church, but we wanted to give it a little more energy because our church I attend a church called Lively Stone, and we are lively. So we put a little beat behind it. So it was now, my hallelujah belongs to you. Ba, 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 ba. My hallelujah belongs to you. So we made that fit our house. That now fits our house. Not saying that the slow one wouldn't, but you have to, when you're doing something new, you have to introduce that to the house and see if that works in your house. And the audience will always tell you, you never have to worry about if a song works or not. Your audience will tell you. If they start sitting down and they're just looking at you, that song may not work in your house. You may have to find something different. That one may not work. But if you introduce it to them and maybe you sing it for a few weeks till they catch hold to it, then maybe it may work. But if you're just starting out, you may have to do some different things to make it fit your house. You have to know your house. Know your house. Know your house. The church that I grew up with, the contemporary songs, that wasn't really gonna work in that house. That the congregation was older, the pastor was older, she was traditional, so she wanted traditional songs. There's no way we could ever get away with, and I'm dating myself, but when Stomp first came out, there was no way we was getting away with that at church. When Escape redid the Clark Sisters' Is My Living in Vain, well, that was now considered a contemporary or a secular song because it was now done by an R&B artist. So that didn't work. We couldn't do that song in our house. So you have to know your house. You have to know who you're singing for and plan accordingly, okay? Does anybody have a question before we go any further? I'm looking to see if I have questions. I don't see. Yes, LG Scott. Yes, LG came from. Yes, he's from our church. Yes, he's from Lively Stone. All right, so we're gonna keep going. I don't see questions, so I'm gonna keep going. Here we go. So now let's plan. You know, every year you got a church anniversary, a pastor's anniversary, you got some holidays, and you got some other events that happen every year. Every year, these things are going to happen. So I'm going to show you a calendar I just pulled this from my church calendar, kind of what we do every Sunday. So I know every January we're gonna have a New Year's Day service. We have a Martin Luther King celebration service. We have some type of consecration revival service. In February, I know that there's a Love Sunday. That's that Sunday that's leading up to Valentine's Day. And there's a Black History Month service. In March, depending on where Easter falls, there's a Palm Sunday service. There's a 7 Last Words of Jesus service. In April, if Easter falls in April, then there's a Good Friday and an Easter service that we have to prepare for. In May, we have Mother's Day service, Pentecost Sunday. June, Father's Day. There's a church anniversary if that's your church. Then there's a pastor's anniversary, wherever that falls. We do some type of back to school something in August. We have a fall revival. Then in October, we have our trunk or treat where the music department may have to do something. We have a Thanksgiving service. And then in December, we have a Christmas and New Year's Eve service. All right. I know that for the last 10, 20, before I was living, all these services happened at my church. I know that. So I should plan for that. I should already know that right now in June, I should not be waiting to this week to plan Father's Day for Sunday. No, don't do that because you're not giving yourself enough time. What if the song that you chose, what if the choir can't get this rehearsal? Then what are you doing? Are you putting out a song that's horrible for Father's Day? God forbid. Don't do that. You knew in January that Father's Day was coming in June. You could have planned that song 3 months ago. You could have planned it last month. And since we've been on COVID, since we've been, not singing or not rehearsing per se, due to COVID, you could have planned that way in advance and been working on your Father's Day song. Same thing with your church anniversary. The thing that always gets me is Christmas and Thanksgiving. Well, you know that between Thanksgiving and Christmas, you have less than 1 month. You have less than 1 month. And so what I often see is Thanksgiving, we rushing to find a Thanksgiving song. And then for Christmas, we rushing to find these Christmas songs or whatever type of service you have. I'm just using Christmas because that's what we use at our church. But now we're rushing to find these songs and put them into play. No. You can plan Christmas in August. In August, you can already start on your Christmas repertoire, your Thanksgiving repertoire. And that way, when you get there, you already know if you take choir out between Thanksgiving and Christmas, that's already a stress. It can be a stressful time of year because you're worried with, number one, all of these new added on services that you got to put on. But also just you as a human, you got to plan for Christmas and your family and your household and what all you do. And don't be a musician that's going out of town for Christmas because now you got to plan for the person who's taking your place. And then New Year's is the next week after that if you do a New Year's Eve service. You can plan all of that in August and start working towards it. Does that make sense? I hope that's making sense. But plan in advance. And I'll show you how we can do that. Don't worry. I'm going to show you. Don't worry. All right. So plan in advance. If you know all these special services are coming up, you can plan these services 3 weeks, a month, 3 months in advance. And that way there's no stress on you. If a song is not working and you need to swap it out, you have more than enough time to get that swapped out. You have more than enough time to fix what's wrong. And that way you don't end up going viral over a video that we all can tell that y'all didn't plan to rehearse. That makes sense? Okay. All right, we're going to keep going. All right, so things you can do during the week. So all I'm just talking about is just a regular week of rehearsal. I don't know what day you have choir rehearsal, so you can do what you do. You can adjust this for your choir rehearsal week. We have choir rehearsal on Thursdays, all right? So Sunday service happened, whatever flopped, or whatever went well, whatever the Lord blessed, whatever he said you on your own, you know what happened on Sunday service, okay? On Monday, you need to reset and review whatever you're going to do for the week and what happened yesterday. So if we know that on yesterday we were singing, let's say yesterday we were singing The Blood Still Works, and let's say the director got happy and she decided that she was going to change the order and do some different stuff with The Blood Still Works, and it train wrecked. It train wrecks. Okay, so you got to reset and review. Why did that song train wreck? That little easy song, why did it get messed up? Was the director, did she not know how to count, he or she, did they not know how to count the song right? Could they not keep the timing together? Did the choir not know what she or he was going to do? Reset, review, and say, okay, this is what happened. This is why this wrecked. I know some churches who have a team, a leadership team, and they use that team to, like, after they get done with Sunday service or maybe the next day, they have a call and they actually review what worked, what didn't work. All right. So take some time to reset, breathe, and review what happened. Write down what happened that was good. Write down what happened that you can improve on. And if you had some stuff that was just a train wreck or just flopped, write that down. Okay. The next thing is, if you as the leader should be able to assign some type of scripture or theme for the week. So let's just say this is the second week of February. Well, we know that that's leading up to Love Sunday. That's the week for Valentine's Day, right? So you should have some type of scripture or theme that the choir or music department can meditate on during the week. You want to send that out on Monday. Because if you send it out on Friday, well, the week is already over. So send that out early. That's something you need to plan for. On Tuesday, you can check in with your lead singers and directors. If we're singing Encourage Yourself by Donald Lawrence, and Sister Power is going to lead that song. All right, well then, Sister Power, let me check in with you. Let's go through the song. Let's see if you got any hiccups, anything that you're not comfortable with. Let's work this out before we get to choir rehearsal, because choir rehearsal is about the choir. I want to focus on the choir. I don't want to say, okay, Sister Power, thank you was doing that. Okay, but you was flat right here. Okay, wait a minute, choir, y'all was doing good. Sister Power, now you missed that line. We don't have time for that. It's a bad rehearsal, because that's individual work that should be done with Sister Power. All right? And then whatever directors that you may have, you want to make sure that the directors have the format. Format counts. Format, and then the counts to the song. So if you know that we sing in, let's go back to The Blood Still Works. It starts, the blood still works. And if I'm not in key, I'm sorry. It will never, never, never lose its power. Boom, boom. The blood still works. All right, so then where do we go next? Are we going back to the top? The blood still works. Or are we going to the second part? I know it works. Where are we going? Directors, you got to know where you're going, because you're the leader at that time, or whoever the music director or whoever that part. They got to know where they're going. So if it's the director's job to carry that song, director, you have to know where you're going. You have to know where you're going. You're wasting my time at rehearsal if you don't know where we're going. And then on Sunday morning, I'm nervous as a choir member because I don't have a clue what you're getting ready to do, and I don't want to mess up. Your choir members, they don't want to mess up. They don't want to mess up. They want to give God their best. But we can't give God our best if you, director, don't know what you're doing. So director or music director, whoever, sit down with your directors and then spell out what this song is doing and what order that you're going in. I'm not saying that the anointing can come in and take over, or if you're like our church, we can keep a song going a good 10, 15 minutes, because that's what we do at our church. But you still need to have some type of form of what that song is going to do. So getting with your lead singers and directors in advance. I know some churches who have a separate band rehearsal than a choir rehearsal. I like that the band is already together. So when we are rehearsing, we're just focusing in on one group. Sometimes it's not easy to try to spend energy with the band and the choir, trying to figure out who is doing what. You learning on this side, we learning on this side. No, keep those rehearsals separate. So if you do a separate band rehearsal, you can do that on a Wednesday night. I've seen some rehearsals where the band and the choir, they meet on the same night, but they're separate in two separate rooms. So in this room, you got the band rehearsing, and in this room, the choir is rehearsing, and they rehearse separately for an hour, and then they come together for that next hour, and then they would just rehearse the songs and learn the format. So, whatever your plan is, just have a plan for that. And if it's the band, have a plan for the band. Know who's on what instrument. If this person is playing keys, you got a person playing keys, you got a person on organ, you got a person on auxiliary, you got a person on bass, but you want to run bass from the organ, like have all of that planned out so people know what they're doing, and then they can practice, all right, and be in good order. Then on Thursday, you have your choir rehearsal. You already know, you've already taken time to plan that rehearsal. You know exactly what's going to happen during that rehearsal. And that doesn't mean that you don't have like wiggle room if you need to move some things around. But if you know you got to get through 4 songs and a rehearsal is only an hour, well, you need to schedule out. Okay, I'm doing 10 minutes here. I'm doing a 5-minute warm up, 5-minute stretch, 10-minute song A, 10-minute song B, little break for 10 minutes, 10-minute song D, song C, song D, questions, and we out. You know, I already have that plan and then have it on the board so the people know what they're looking forward to. Friday, I don't typically do a lot on Friday, so I didn't put anything on Friday. Saturday, I'm going to rest and I'm going to review for Sunday morning because I want to give God my best. I want to give God my best. So I'm going to review what I'm going to do. And that means I'm going to run that whole program in my head. I'm going to run it. Okay, this is what's happening first. All right, we start with the interlude. Okay, and then after the interlude, the choir starts. The choir's going to sing 2 songs. My praise and worship leader already knows what she's going to do. I'm going to text her, hey, Sister Power, make sure you're ready for tomorrow. You ready? Yeah, I'm ready. All right, let's go, Sister Power. And I'm going to encourage her to be ready and do a great job of what she's doing. Then I'm going to check in on, hold on. YouTube doing some weird. Okay. Then I want to check in on whoever's directing and make sure that they're ready. And then I'm going to rest. I'm going to pray and I'm going to rest. Because I know that I've planned. I know that I've prayed. And I know that God is going to bless. All right. Then on Sunday, when we come in on Sunday morning, there's a list of what you're singing and the order and who's directing. And that way, when they call for the choir, we as the audience don't wait 10 minutes for the choirs to get their lives together and figure out what they're going to sing. The devil is a lie. Don't do that. Don't do that. Have it already wrote down somewhere. And because we're planning in advance, this is something that you should be able to just a quick copy and paste. So on Sunday morning, you know exactly what songs it is. This also helps like if you were planning like with the pastor. So let's go back to February. I'm going to stick with Love Sunday. Because I love Valentine's Day. Hence the heart. I love Valentine's Day. So if it's Love Sunday, I can get in touch with the pastor and I can say, hey, Pastor Music, or Pastor Place. I try to use things that I don't call nobody's name. But Pastor Place, the choir has planned to sing these songs for the month of February. We know that the second Sunday is leading up to Love Sunday. Does this coincide? Do these songs coincide with what you're planning to preach? And he or she may be like, oh, I didn't even think about that. But that way, all of us can be in together. You don't want to preach about the blood. You don't want to sing 5 songs about the blood. And then your pastor comes and speaks about the Lord is my shepherd. Well, that kind of don't go together. We could have sang some shepherd songs if he was going to preach Psalms 23. So being in order in that way. Does that make sense? I'm going to check and see if I got questions. All right. Somebody said, do you ever hand out the entire church schedule for the year to your singers? How much ahead of time should they be knowing what is coming in the terms of repertoire? Okay. That's a great question. So Ryan, I'm going to answer that question in just a second. Because I got a slide for that. And then how do you change the culture of the music department without offending anyone? You know what? I think now is the best time to change because we've all been at home. And you just come in and you say, you know what? I'm so grateful that we are now back together in rehearsal. And what we want to do now is we want to restructure how we do things because we want to give God our best. We want to operate in the spirit of excellency. And not to say that we weren't not to say that we wasn't before, but now moving forward, we want to give God our absolute best. And I know that when I'm prepared, I'm better. That's just in regular life. When I take my time and prepare, like I did for this speech, for this session, I take my time, I prepare in advance instead of trying to wing it and do it like off the cuff. I'm better and I can serve you all better because I took that time in advance to prep. So during this time of COVID, if your choir is not rehearsing and you guys are being part of these sessions, you're taking that time to learn and prep so that when you get back, you can say, look, I took some time, I reset. Because some of the things that we were doing weren't the best order, and I want to make sure that we're always in the best order. So here we go. Somebody asks, how far in advance do you give out your songs? Well, here's a monthly planner that you can use. It is the first, second, third, and fourth Sunday. I have already planned out what we're singing, what's the theme for every Sunday of the month. Now, you can give this out on day one of the month, or you can give it out 2 or 3 months in advance. But you can download this monthly planner. I'm going to give it to you for free off girlconductor.com. Download this monthly planner and then just place in there the songs that you're singing. Now, I didn't make a space for fifth Sunday, but I will add that fifth Sunday in there because that comes a few times a year as well. But that way they see exactly what we're working on. We're working on The Presence of the Lord is Here by Byron Cage. Then we're working on Here I Am to Worship. My worship is for real. We come to worship Christ. What's the theme of this Sunday? Let's see if I can get it. It's worship. This whole Sunday is about worship. So I picked songs that fit that theme of worship. Second Sunday, we're singing I Command My Soul to Bless the Lord. Clap your hands, all you people. Everybody clap your hands. And then Oh, Clap Your Hands by John P. Key. So theme of that Sunday is clapping, worshiping God, using our body to physically worship God. That was the theme for that Sunday. And then and so forth and so on. But having a theme and then having it out and then just sending this to your choir. And when you send it to them, I already have the leads and directors assigned. That way everybody already know what we're doing for the month. Everybody knows. We don't have to guess. There's no guessing to any of this. We already know. And then if you do voice tracks, or if you don't do voice tracks, if you do have voice tracks, then you have that link ready so that the sopranos can have all of their parts, altos can have their parts, tenors can have their parts, and if you have basses, they have their parts, and they can be listening to the songs. You just say, okay, yeah, it's second Sunday. You already have the list of what we're singing. You already have your part tracks built in, or maybe you send it out on some type of Google. I use for my high school choir, we use Google Classroom. And in Google Classroom, I can upload their parts. So they have the lyrics. So everybody has the same words. Lyrics are there. Now let me go for a second. You got to make sure that everybody has the same words, because sometimes people hear things differently than what the people who wrote it said. So you got to come up with some words that's going to be uniform with everybody. Because I may hear, the sky is a limit to what I can have. And then somebody else may hear, the eye is a spirit to what I can have. They kind of sound the same. One of them is totally wrong. But if not, you're going to have some people with some wrong words. So find a uniform word list and send that out. There's so many websites that give you the words to these songs. Some of them may be wrong. Some of them may not be wrong. But whatever you choose, just go with it. If that's what you choose, if your choir's going to sing The Eye is the Limit, then choose that and teach everybody The Eye is the Limit. That's wrong, though. Don't teach nobody that, okay? But here's a monthly planner that you can use in advance. You can download this off the site, all right? The next thing is for your actual rehearsal. Here is a template that you can plug in the things for rehearsal. The band comes in at this time. So if the rehearsal starts at 5, if the band arrives at 5, the band is late because we start at 5. We don't arrive at 5. We start at 5. So you want to tell the band, arrive at 4:55. We start at 5. At 5 o'clock, you're late. Then the vocals arrive. If choir rehearsal starts at 6, vocals, you arrive at 5:55. Or if you want to do a mic check and you need certain vocals there, or you need if you have a praise team and or your mic singers, whatever, you want to have them there a little bit early because you don't want it to be 6 o'clock and you saying, okay, Let's check mics. No, the devil is a lie. Don't do that. Don't do that, because you wasted my time as a choir member. You wasted my time. You've just wasted my time, because you could have checked those mics before I got here, and you could have called the mic singers 10 minutes early. So whatever that is, put that in there. And then you want to have your prayer and your warm-up. That starts at 6. If the rehearsal is at 6, that prayer warm-up starts at 6. Not 6:05, not 6:20. It starts at 6. And you pray with whoever's there, and you warm up whomever is there. If you start that culture, please believe your choir does not want to be left out. If they come in and you already working through the song, they could be like, oh my God, we was late. Oh, you actually started on time? All it takes about a good 2 or 3 times for you to start actually on time, and then people know you start on time. So with my presentations, I've been giving presentations the last maybe 3 or 4 weeks, right? I start on time. 6 o'clock, we start. 7 o'clock, we are done. I'm respectful of your time. So if you're not here when I start at 6 o'clock, then you miss out on what I said at 6 o'clock. And then you have to go to the replay. All right, so make sure that you have those times in. As the director, the minister of musical, whoever, you know what part is difficult in those songs. You should already know those songs, so you know the problem areas. I know there's a dissonant chord in this song, so I want to make sure that I have that down packed. So when I present that to them, I know they may have some issues with it, so I want to make sure that I have it down packed, so I can teach it so they can get it. Yeah, know the difficult parts on the song before you start. I'm trying to think of a song that may have a difficult part to it. Okay, so let's go back to The Blood Still Works. I know the blood still works. Yes, I know the blood still works. All right, I've seen choirs who struggle to get that alto part in because they can't do the timing of when they're supposed to start. So then they spend time in rehearsal trying to work through that. When had the director work through that on his or her own before rehearsal, they could say, the soprano's going to start, I know the blood still works. And then you can say, I'm going to count to 1, 2, 3, 4. Yes, I know. Like something like that. And I'm doing this off the top of my head. So nobody gets to judge me and say, Maria, that's not where it starts. I'm doing it off the top of my head to make sure that I'm just giving an example. But you should have all of that already worked out. And I try to make things, especially when I'm teaching, no matter I'm teaching somebody who's 5 years old versus somebody who is 85 years old, I try to make things as simple as possible. I have a degree in music, so I can use all those terms if I wanted to, but that don't benefit nobody. That helps nobody if they have no clue what I'm talking about. There's no point. So I try to use things that are simple. I try to make things really easy so everybody can understand. All right. Then give my choir a break. They need a break, especially if it's a 2-hour rehearsal. They need a break. Let them get some water and chill and look on their phones because they've been itching to do it during rehearsal anyway. Talk about business. You come back, you do a full run through with all the leads, all the directors, and the band. And this run through that you're doing, this is for Sunday morning. This that Sunday morning run through. So again, if there's any type of bubbles or hiccups during rehearsal, if you don't fix it, that same bubble or hiccup will show up on Sunday morning. If there's a bubble or a hiccup during rehearsal, that bubble or hiccup is going to show up on Sunday morning. So you want to do a full run through where there are no mistakes, no errors. And if the song didn't work during rehearsal, then by all means, you should have some bread and butter songs that you can pull, and you may have to pull one of those songs. Now, that shouldn't be an every week thing. But if we can't get The Blood Still Works, well, that tells me that we need to keep working on that. And maybe I just need to sing, Oh, the Blood of Jesus, because we've been singing that since Jesus was a baby. And we can get that one down packed, all right? So just making sure you have a clean rehearsal. Then go through your dismissal. You write down, as a director, leader, write down what people had issues on. Sopranos had issues on this song. Altos had issues on this song. And then plan for your next rehearsals to be better at getting those things done. Does that all make sense? I'm looking through chats. All right, here we go. Somebody said, do you take song suggestions from the congregation? Yes. If they have a suggestion, I'll take it. I may not necessarily use it because I know what I'm working with. So if you listen to, I'll give you an example. James Hall Worship and Praise. If you listen to them and they are singing their blood song, which is ridiculously crazy, it's so good. Well, if I don't have the voices to do that, although I believe that's a great song, my choir may not be able to do that. And I have to know my choir and know who I'm working with. So yeah, I'll take your suggestion, but I also got to know who I'm dealing with. Let's see. And Dr. McNeil said, yeah, you don't have to take that. All right, so let's keep going through the presentation. All right, so we talked about how to plan all of these different things that you know come up every year. The pastor has an anniversary every year. You know when that's happening. Plan accordingly. The holidays don't change. They happen every year. Plan accordingly to that, all right? And then, like I said, those planners, I gave you 4 different sheets, I believe. You can download those off of www.girlconductor.com. They are free. Use those templates to help you out so you can plan and have a good rehearsal. So please download that. Use it. That's my free gift to you all tonight. But use it so you can just have a plan of what you're going to be doing with your rehearsal, okay? All right. I left off one page of the plan that I want to show you all before we go. Rehearsal of songs. So this particular planning sheet, and then I'll go back to get questions. This sheet tells me exactly what I'm looking at every Sunday. So this Sunday, we're singing Jesus Be a Fence by Fred Hammond. It's in the key of E flat. That's important. It's important to know what key you're singing in. That way you don't say, okay, we're singing Jesus Be a Fence, and then the musician who may or may not be skilled in those areas plays it in F, or let's say they play it in B flat, and it's supposed to be in E flat. Then that's gonna be a mess if you don't know how to adjust. So know what keys you're singing in. If you don't know how to tell what key you're singing in, leave that in the chat, and I can do a video and teach you how to find out what key songs are in. So if you don't know how to do that, just put it in the chat. Nobody's judging you. Or if you want to, you can email me, info@girlconductor.com, and I can show you how to find the keys to these songs. But then some churches use tracks, click tracks and things like that. So if you're the minister of music, know which number the track is. That's nothing that the choir wants to do, or the congregation. We don't want to sit through 5 minutes of you figuring out which track you're supposed to use, if it's the fast one or the slow one. No, that's not in order. So have that already together. Know who's leading it. Make sure we got Keisha Johnson. I don't know a Keisha Johnson. I made that up. So if she's out there, I'm not talking about you. I don't know you. But if there's a Keisha Johnson who's going to lead it, make sure she knows the part. Make sure she knows the transitions. And then if Maria Ellis is your director, she knows the format of the song. So you can download that as well. The whole planner presentation, you can download the whole thing, okay? All right, so we got about 8 minutes left. Do you have any questions? And I have my iPad so I can see what questions may or may not be there. Let's see. I don't see any questions. All right. So if I don't have questions, then that makes me think everybody got it all together. All right, then. Okay, so I know that I gave out a lot of information. And again, if you're not comfortable typing a question in the chat, you can always email me at info@girlconductor.com. I want to give a preview of next week's session. So next week, we're going to talk about worship in detail. And I'm so excited because my good friend will be presenting with me. He's working on his doctorate degree in worship music, and he's going to come on and talk to us about worship music. And there's an art to worship music that I'm not sure if people really realize. Like, what type of song are you singing? Are you singing a song that's man to man? Is your whole worship experience stuff that you're just singing to each other? I don't know what you come to do. Then they respond, I don't know what you come to do. I come to clap my hands, my hands. Well, that's a man-to-man song. That's me singing to you, and you singing back to me. There's nothing to do. God is not in that per se. We haven't mentioned God. We're just saying, I don't know what you, physical man, came to do. So that's a man-to-man song. Then there's man-to-God songs. I love you, Jesus. I worship and adore you. Just want to tell you, Lord, I love you more than anything. All right, so that's a man to God song. That's me telling Jesus that I love him. Me, Jesus, I love you. And then there are God to man songs. I love God to man songs. One of my favorites is Trust Me by Richard Smallwood. If you will only trust me. That's God saying for us to trust him. So we're going to get into detail about those three type of songs. So man to man, man to God, and then God to man. And then how to incorporate that into your service. So you don't want to sing for the whole day about us singing man to man songs, because I haven't heard from God at all. That's us just singing to each other. Can't nobody do me like Jesus. That again, that's us singing to each other, which is great if we get one of them. But if the whole service is songs that are just us singing to each other, then we haven't heard from God yet, nor have we talked to God. And we want to make sure that God is always a part of our services. Okay. So we'll be doing that next week. I have a special guest with me who will be chiming in on that presentation. And then I'm going to I want you all to make sure that you follow me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and that you have subscribed to my YouTube channel. Please hit that bell to subscribe so when new videos come up. I'm going to be posting a warm-up video on Wednesday. Warm-up Wednesdays. So if you don't have a warm-up, I'm going to post a new warm-up every Wednesday. So I won't go live and do it, but there'll be a post every Wednesday with new warm-ups, and there'll be warm-ups for all kinds of choirs. So there'll be for if you have a children's choir at your church, or if you have a all the way up to your Golden Voices choirs. There's warm-ups that anybody can use, and they're making them fun. And then you can take that and just adjust it to what you are doing. So please follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and then hit that like button so you can know when I posted something live here on YouTube. All right. I do thank you all for attending. It is 6:56, and I don't see questions, so I'm going to assume that there are none. It don't look like it. Yep, I don't see any questions. All right, so that's all I have. Thank you so much for giving me this hour of your time. If you have any questions or something that you want to ask me later on, you can always email me at info@girlconductor.com. I am here for you. I am a choir baby. I love the choir. I love everything about choirs. And I want everybody to give their best selves on Sunday morning so we don't have these videos going around where the pastor is upset because you sang something that was just off key and off everything, and then he goes off on you. So let's not have them type of things going around. All right, so that's all I have today. Thank you so much for subscribing. I appreciate you, and I will see you back here next week where we will talk about worship music with my good friend Willie, who again is studying for his doctorate. It's going to be so exciting. Make sure you go to girlconductor.com and download the planners so you can use that. And even if you're just doing it via Zoom, just download it. You can type in there, you can change it or whatnot, just so you have a template of what you're supposed to be doing. Okay, thank you guys so much for tuning in. Have a wonderful night. Bye.